This Penn State team may very well be the greatest college wrestling team of all time. And we're going to talk about the Super Bowl of college wrestling, Penn State versus Iowa. But first, I quickly want to talk about that Nebraska versus Michigan duel. And last week, Michigan put a hurtin' on Iowa. And this week, Nebraska wins 8 out of 10 matches over Michigan, beating them 25-7. And well, that's the Big Ten for you. If you have an off night, it's going to be a long night because the margin of error in the Big Ten is almost zero. And there were some pretty surprising upsets in this duel. First off, at 133 pounds with Jacob Van D beating Dylan Ragusin. And with Van D's scramble ability, I think he could pull off quite a few upsets at the national tournament. He has a unique ability to really extend exchanges and be just a nuisance for guys to score on. And if you haven't felt that versus Van D, it may come to a surprise to you. So at the national tournament, I think he could be a little tricky and pull off a few upsets, maybe even sneak on the podium. And then at 149 pounds, it isn't so surprising that Ridge Lovett beat Austin Gomez. Even though I thought Austin Gomez would win, what is surprising is the fashion in which he won, beating him 11-4. And I'm gonna admit, I kind of forgot how good Ridge Lovett was on top. And I kind of think Austin Gomez forgot how good Ridge Lovett was on top. Because he goes out there and he tries a throw versus Ridge Lovett in the first minute or so, and Ridge Lovett counters the throw and gets an easy takedown for 3 points. And the rest is history. He almost instantly turns Austin Gomez to his match. Now Ridge Lovett's up 7-0, and that's just a difficult deficit to try to come back from. Now, I know Austin Gomez is great with throws, but you can't make this kind of mistake versus a wrestler that is known for being a killer on top. When you're wrestling Ridge Lovett, the goal is to avoid being on bottom at all costs. So you really shouldn't, in my opinion, take a risk like this. Sure, if it was a different wrestler who wasn't great on top, maybe take a risk, that's fine. You can always escape and go get a takedown. But the problem with Ridge Lovett is that escape is not guaranteed. But it is noteworthy that the takedown ratio in this match was 1-1. And so in the future, I might still pick Austin Gomez, but he's got to stay off bottom. And then at 157, Peyton Robb gets back to his winning ways and ends up on the winning side. But honestly, I thought Will Lewan got the takedown at the end of the third period. Peyton Robb was defending Will Lewan's attack and was locked around his knee, but then his lock slides up to Will Lewan's crotch. And at that point, I think that's a takedown because that lock isn't really doing anything. So I think that's control, and I think Will Lewan should have gotten the takedown. But my main takeaway from this duel is that Nebraska could have a great NCAA tournament and end up with as many as 7 All-Americans. But I also feel like there's only 2 for sure All-Americans in Ridge Lovett and Lenny Pinto. You do feel good about Peyton Robb and Brock Hardy making the podium, but I don't think that is as for sure. I could see a situation where they don't. So on a good day, Nebraska could place as high as 2 or 3 on the team race and get a team trophy. But on a bad day where they only get 2 All-Americans, they may not break the top 10. But if they have a day like they did versus Michigan, they're going to be just fine, and they're going to end up really, really high at the national tournament. All right, so let's talk about Penn State versus Iowa. And we'll start at 125 pounds with Braden Davis versus Drake Ayala. Iowa had a really good game plan for Braden Davis. Every takedown that I've seen from Braden Davis has kind of been his double leg from space. And by Drake Ayala lowering his level and wrestling from that knee, it really kind of eliminated that. Because to hit that blast double, you really have to have your head position lower than your opponents. So Drake Ayala would wrestle from a knee from space, and when they started to tie up, then he would stand up and work his offense. So a great game plan by Iowa, and ultimately it paid off with Drake Ayala giving Braden Davis his first loss of the year. This 141-pound match. Now I'll admit, I've never been super high on Bo Bartlett, meaning I never thought he would win a national title. Now, I fully expected him to finish third or fourth or maybe even make the finals, but I didn't expect him to win a national title. But this is the best I've ever seen Bo Bartlett wrestle. Real Woods was never close to a takedown, and the thing that really stood out to me is Bo Bartlett has always been a reattack guy. Well, not in this match. He created his offense. Both of his takedowns were off of shots that he set up and created on his own. It wasn't a reattack from Real Woods' shot. So this is a big change for Bo Bartlett. So right now, this is the first time that I really feel like Bo Bartlett could win a title. And then at 149 pounds, the thing that comes to mind is, why do people stop wrestling? Caleb Ratchey gets up by 2 takedowns going into the third period, and it looked to me he just kind of stopped wrestling, and Kazak got a couple quick takedowns to tie it up. And then they go into overtime, and Caleb's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to start wrestling again. Gets the takedown in overtime to win the match. But regardless, a very nice win by Caleb here, really starting to solidify himself as the starter in the Hawkeye lineup at 149 pounds. And then at 165, it is official, if it hasn't already been official, that Mitchell Messenbrink is truly a title contender. Because Mikey Caliendo is very good. In fact, when I did my Iowa preseason lineup preview, I kind of predicted that Mikey Caliendo could solidify himself as the number 3 guy in this weight class. And Mitchell Messenbrink just kind of controlled this match from beginning to end. It really looks like wrestlers have a hard time with his motion. He just moves, he gets them moving, and then drops down in on the legs. If I had to pick a winner at 165 pounds right now, I think I would pick David Carr due to his ability to ride on top. But come March, your guess is as good as mine on what's going to happen at this weight class between Keegan O'Toole, David Carr, and Mitchell Messenbrink. And of course, we have to talk about 174 pounds. But this is the second match where Carter Starachi looked tired. But it didn't really matter because Penn State is so stinking stingy. Nothing is easy. Patrick Kennedy got in pretty darn deep on Carter's legs a few times. But again, nothing is easy. Carter just kept wrestling through the position even though he was tired, and turned it into his own offense on multiple occasions. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you're gonna beat Penn State, you have to wrestle for 7 minutes as hard as you possibly can, because nothing is easy. Every single position is gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a fight. And I'm not sure there's really anybody in the 174-pound weight class that has enough offense to beat Carter. Mekhi Lewis is more of a defensive wrestler, a reattack guy. Shane Griffith has not been putting out a ton of points. So I'm not sure there's a guy with enough offense to beat Carter. But again, it is noteworthy that he has looked tired in his past few matches. And then at 197 pounds, Aaron gets the win, but Zach Glacier continues to impress. He gets pretty deep on Aaron's legs and looks like there might be a possibility for a takedown. But as I just said, Penn State is so stingy. Aaron's hips are so heavy. He just turns it into a go behind for his own 3-point takedown and wins the match 4-1 from that point. And then at 285 pounds, we saw Ben Keeter versus Greg Kurtfleet. And I don't really take too much away from this match. The reality is Ben needs to add like 25 pounds before he's going to be remotely competitive against these higher level heavyweights in college. So it's not really a cause of concern if you're an Iowa fan. In my perspective, he's just not big enough. He needs to add 20 pounds in the offseason. And then maybe next year as a redshirt freshman, he's got some weight to him. He can really start to use his skills and his technique and be more competitive against these really heavyweights. And then the last thing I'll say about the duel, I mean, regardless that it was kind of one-sided, I just love every time we get to see Penn State wrestle Iowa. They're the 2 best programs, let's be honest. They're the best teams right now. So it's really fun to watch these guys duke it out in an awesome atmosphere at Carver Hawkeye Arena. That's it for this week. Subscribe.